Today's podcast is brought to you by Audible. Get a free audiobook download and 30-day free trial at www.audibletrial.com/teacherrecharge. Over 180,000 titles to choose from for your iPhone, Android, Kindle, or MP3 player. My name is Fred Kapp. I am the host of the Teacher Recharge podcast. This is my announcer voice. Let's get it started! Bienvenidos, señores y señoras. How are you doing? It is another Monday, which means it is another start to a week where you can have a humongous impact on your students' lives. But first, we need to recharge you. That's what this podcast is all about. But I don't know if you saw the Khabib and McGregor fight about a week ago, but it kind of got me in the mood to talk like a boxing announcer. So I'm going to go ahead and do this intro like a boxing announcer for our very, very special guest today. Put yourself in that scene. Whoosah. Blair Husted is from Milford, Connecticut, and currently lives in Norman, Oklahoma with her husband, Andy, a Navy pilot, and their dog, Minnie. She graduated from Auburn University with a bachelor's degree in early childhood education and is currently working toward a master's in educational administration, curriculum, and supervision. She was a teacher for 5 years in 5 different schools and 4 different grade levels. She has taught in Alabama, Florida, Texas, and Oklahoma, and recently accepted a full-time position with Student Success Agency as their Director of School Success. Without further ado, I would like to introduce the interview of the century with Blair Husted. Let's get ready to rumble. Enjoy. All right, everybody, we are here in the studio. Well, I'm in the studio once again, and she's in Oklahoma. Yes, this is Blair Husted. How are you doing today?
Hello, I'm doing wonderful. How are you doing, Fred?
You know, I'm having a good... Actually, we're recording this on a Monday, so the episode with Daniel Gomez just came out. You should go check that out. I believe that's episode 9. It's a wonderful episode, but definitely keep listening to this one, too. This is an interesting person that we're having. I mean, all people that I have on the show are interesting, but Blair is living in Oklahoma, and she just got done with 5 years, right? 5 years of teaching in Oklahoma.
Yes. Well, 5 years of teaching, and actually only really like 1.5 years of teaching in Oklahoma.
Yeah, I see that right here. It says you've taught in Alabama, Florida, Texas, and Oklahoma. Well,
yes.
From what I understand, the last year of that was kind of crazy. If you want to take just a second and kind of let people in on what's the deal with Oklahoma?
Yeah, Oklahoma is a whole new world. I came from Texas, and people told me life would change a little bit moving to Oklahoma and being a teacher, and I didn't anticipate the extremity of that until I moved here. So basically, this whole entire year has been focused on like teacher pay and resources and funding for the classrooms in Oklahoma. Teacher pay is extremely low. I don't know the exact number. It's like 49th or 50th in the country for the amount, I guess, compared to like cost of living. So I actually took a $20,000 pay cut moving from Texas to Oklahoma, which was insane. You know, teachers don't make that much to begin with, so to like take a $20,000 pay cut seems like I'm literally getting paid nothing. Also, the funding here is just awful. I mean, I worked in a district where I was like super lucky to have really good community support. So we had a lot of bonds that paid for, you know, a lot of resources and different things for the teachers and the students. But I also worked in Oklahoma City for a few months, but we kind of transitioned in the middle of the year because my husband's in the military, and I mean, the funding was just absolutely horrible, and the class sizes are huge, the schools are broken down, they don't have the resources, and so kind of this whole year has just been like a fight for funding and for teacher pay, I guess, across the state, and we had a huge walkout for almost 2 weeks where we
all over the place.
Didn't teach. Yeah, it was really insane, but I mean, it opened a lot of people's eyes, and so now it's just, there's like a slogan saying, we'll remember in November, and so we're just kind of hoping that we can maybe shift some of the people out of office and some new people into office that will vote for funding for education, because it just doesn't seem like it's a priority here. I guess there's other things that they prioritize, and they just kind of think like funding in the classrooms and teacher pay isn't a big deal, but it is when you have like, I think it's like 1,200 teachers out of the classroom, or 1,200 classrooms that don't have teachers in them. That becomes a big deal.
Yeah, so, just a little bit of a big deal. My goodness. When that walkout was happening, like first of all, I had no clue, because like, I don't know, I live under a rock. But then when I saw it and I did some research on it, I couldn't believe it. Like, I could not believe that there's that little funding and people would give that little of a flip about
right.
our youth, which are eventually going to, take their offices and things like that. Like, I don't know. It's kind of a heartbreaker. And just so you got everyone out there knows, like, she can come in and talk about stuff like this, because she's recently just gained a new position with Student Success Agency. So congrats to you. You're the director. I don't know. Is that a problem? Director? Whatever. And she's the director of school success with Student Success Agency. What do you do with that?
Thank you. I'm so excited about it. So being in Oklahoma last year, I had to get a part-time job, which is also the norm for teachers in Oklahoma, which was not the norm any other state that I taught in, to have a part-time job. So I worked with Student Success Agency as an agent like you and joined on. And so with my director of school success position, now it's my role is to provide like exponential support to our school partners that we work with. So the over 100 schools that we work with across the country, it's my role to support their coordinators and their counselors that support the students that we work with. So we're kind of building that community around the student and around their students and the success of their students. So my role is to support them, which is super cool, and I feel like super lucky to get to work with all these schools across the country. And it's interesting having had the background of like teaching in all these different schools across the nation. So I have a little more of like, okay, I know there's schools that work differently. Like every school is different how it works, and the community in their school. So that's been super helpful. But I have a lot to learn too, and I've already learned so much about just like education in general and our schools across the nation, and like kind of gained a greater, I guess, like I've seen the bigger picture now a little more. And so I've gained a little bit of more of an understanding of like what the status is of education in our country. But I like can't even imagine like a year from now what what knowledge I'm going to acquire. So I'm really excited about it. And I just feel like so lucky to be learning from some of the best educators in the country.
Such a cool experience. And it like I said, or like you said, you definitely have the background to go in and kick butt with that. So every interview, I don't usually start by asking, hey, what's it like teaching where you are? So let's go ahead. So I usually ask people, what is like one way you start the week? Like what's something you have to do on Monday? And what I want to hear from you, I want to hear that right now, because that's you're obviously a very positive person who has a great mindset. But I also want to hear that same answer flashback a year ago, or let's say half a year ago, when you were right in the thick of things with teaching in a state with that kind of, I guess, environment. What was something that kind of got you through the week?
No, that's a really great question. So I'm going to flashback first to waking up, I guess. When you first asked that, what kind of went through my mind, which is not like positive at all. It's waking up with the last alarm possible. Oh, yeah. Just like my Monday morning ritual of like, all right, I'm going to wake up early tomorrow. On Sunday night, I thought to myself, and then every Monday was like, I'm like booking it out the door, like low-key trying to speed to school. But really, I just think that's because like teaching's exhausting, and I never realized that teaching was so exhausting until I stopped teaching. Like I was tired all the time. I just remember like coming home and from work and wanting to sleep like every single day. And my job now is like, I guess, on my feet as much or working around kids. And so it's definitely hard work, but it's not like as physically exhausting for some reason. So that was my first thought. But really, like in the classroom, I think something that like I would try to do every Monday was just like build our classroom community and culture, not even worry about academics the first little while, just focus on making the kids have a good week. So like, I'm going to start the week off bad, the week's going to start off bad for them too, and we're not going to have a great week together, and like that's going to be worse on me and and them. So something that I would do like every Monday morning was a song to like get us started for our week. So we had like a classroom theme song pretty much every year. So last year it was that song Thunder. I can't remember the name of the artist now, but we like changed it up and changed the lyrics to like start our morning off. And so if the kids weren't hyped enough, like I would get on the table and get on the chair and be like, you guys need to get on the tables and chairs now too, and like start jumping up and down. And we just like hype each other up, because it was like, even if like one kid wasn't hyped up, we'd be like, all right, well, we got to get that one kid in, and we'd like hype that one kid up, like go over there, start dancing and doing the floss with them or whatever we needed to do just to start our week off, because it was just like, it just made a world of difference to start that minute or 2 minutes off in a positive way, and then have a great rest of the day and a great rest of the week, and to build that community within each other too. Like we're all here to build each other up. We're all here to learn from each other, and like we all want to be happy. Like that's kind of the end goal. Like what's the point in not being happy while we're here? So that was kind of our routine every week. And honestly, sometimes it was every day. Like in the morning, if I noticed the energy was low, I'd be like, all right, get up, go stand on a table, like go stand on a chair, not on a rolly chair. Like I had to say that like every day, but go do something. I don't care if you're doing backflips in the classroom, like wake yourself up. We're getting ready to roll. And it just made the world of difference.
My goodness, that I want to be in Miss Husted's class, or Mrs. Husted's class. That sounds really fun. Getting on a table? Are you kidding me? That's so cool. Oh my gosh.
It was funny, except for like the few scary times where the kids would like stand on the desk and like definitely dance too hard, and the desk would start shaking, and I'm like, all right, we gotta like slow it down just one notch.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. Okay, I'm gonna join in real quick, and with everybody that is listening out there, I'm gonna say it. Performance. What's the song?
The song that we did?
Yes.
Oh, we did. Oh, like you want me to sing the song?
Oh, yeah, definitely.
Gosh, no, I can't.
Just kidding.
No,
I just
would read the lyrics.
No, it's totally fine. Oh my gosh. So what do you do? What do you do this time of year? Like, what are you doing right now to get through your week?
Yeah, like honestly, I was a little nervous coming into this position of like being able to work from home or like work remotely and not have children to wake me up on Monday mornings. That definitely wakes me up, like having to watch over 24 children. Now I really it's totally different. I feel like I start my Monday mornings off like a little bit slower. Like I'll wake up and I'll like have coffee and I'll have something to eat, which is totally different than what I was used to. But I think just to like get myself in the right mindset, but maybe I should start doing dancing on the table again in my house.
Maybe.
To make myself wake up. I think what like gets me through the day now is having a goal in mind for my week. So like, what am I focusing on this week? And like, because I'm so passionate about my job, because it's still education and like I'm still making a huge difference and an impact in students' lives, like that's what gets me up and motivated to be able to want to do my job, which was like definitely a factor in the classroom too. Like the reason that I would wake up and go to work every day was because I like loved those kids and I was super passionate about, just giving them the best education possible. And so I think now I feel that in a different way with my position now, which is like super cool to feel it in a different way, but to still feel that passion 100%.
Yeah. One thing that you said that kind of interested me earlier about when you were teaching about a year ago or whatever is you would go home and you would be like really tired and stuff. Yeah. And you were saying, oh, maybe it's because, like, the kids, it's just really, like, in my opinion, so this has happened to me quite a bit as well. When it happens to me, though, it is because of, not because I don't love what I'm doing. I had a coaching job where I was coaching little tiny kids. We're talking, like, you can't really call it coaching because it's, like, 2 to 5 year olds. But I would do it, like, at a preschool, like, every morning, like, at a different preschool. Wow. And every time I'd come back, I would be the same way. I'd be like super tired. I just
So
wouldn't,
tired.
I just wouldn't want to go, like, make it even to lunch. I found that when I left that, all of a sudden I had more energy, and it's like I could say, oh, and now it's because I have my mornings open, blah blah blah. But I was still like, I was the same way, trying to get up as late as possible, trying to get there right on time so I didn't have to be there. What happens is, I don't think it's like I don't like working with these kids, blah, blah, blah.
Right.
I don't think it's like that. I think it's more the other things, because there's so much more to teaching than just the kids, isn't it?
Yes.
Like there's so much more. There's paperwork, there's procedures, there's things that are just, I mean, there's even something like funding. For example, my boys, we played a team the other day, and after the game, I know none of the balls went over the fence. I know none of them. I was coaching the game. I know none of my boys would steal balls from us. I'm not saying the other team we played stealed, but I'm saying we're missing 3 balls, and we don't have very much funding in our program.
Right.
So, like, now we're 3 balls down, and it's like, are you kidding me?
Yeah.
And just things like that is just like, they kind of weigh on people. You know,
They
especially
do.
when they don't look like they have that much of a solution. So I think that probably I mean, there's something to be said about where, like, mindset and that maybe aren't exactly why you're going there. Because that's the thing, is you're doing a job for a reason. You see that reason, but then when other things come into it that fight that reason, things get annoying. They get really annoying.
Yeah. And like you said, it weighs on you. I mean, just all the different things that teachers have to do is crazy. And it's, you know, obviously all for, like, most of it has a purpose. I wouldn't say everything has a purpose, because there's some paperwork where you're like, really, what am I doing this for? Yeah. Doing all of that, it takes time. And I think I was also exhausted because I wanted to make sure every single minute in my classroom that my students were there, like, had value and purpose. And so, like, I taught my heart out. And I know, like, every other teacher out there does that too. And so, like, when you're teaching your heart out all day, every day, and then doing the other stuff afterwards, it takes a lot more than 40 hours a week. Like, my average is probably like 60. Yeah, if 60 was like a good week for me. And then, yeah, when you just go hard every day for 5 days a week, I mean, it's just, like, so exhausting.
You go hard 5 days a week, and then you get nothing more from, like, you know what I mean? Like, no one ever, like, congratulates you. No one ever, like, you know, sheds that light on you. No one gives you a raise. Like, it's, oh gosh, that can be really frustrating. Which it seems
like, yeah, and it seems like, oh wow, why do you do this? But then it, like, comes down, you know, obviously for the kids, and, like, when you see different things, or, you know, you do make progress, like, they wake you up and get you there every morning. And, you know, not that, like, other jobs, like in my job now, like, I feel like I work my heart out too, but I don't know why. It's just, like, so much more exhausting, because I guess because you know, you're around this, you know, 24 little humans, and you're, like, having to work with them, but also getting up and moving. Like, there's just a lot of different factors. I think you're right. Like, when you're teaching your heart out and then you're not getting a lot back in return, it's, like, emotionally exhausting, and then it becomes physically exhausting because you're, like, emotional about it. And so there's just, like, so much that plays into it. But yeah, that was one of the first things I noticed starting this job, this new position, was that my body wasn't as tired. And maybe that means I need to be working harder, I don't know, or doing dances or something while I'm working, like I said. But it is just, like, really, really interesting. And a lot of other of my peers have said the same thing. Like, I'm just so exhausted when I get home. I know there's, like, an Instagram hashtag that's, like, Feet Up Friday for all the, like, teachers that are on Instagram. And, like, teachers just, like, post their feet up on Friday, and that they just, like, go home and sit and sleep and watch Netflix, because it's so exhausting. And by the end of the week, most Fridays, I didn't want to do anything. I just wanted to go home and sleep too.
Well, hey, that was a bit of a long first half of the episode, but nothing wrong with that. We are going to take a real quick break, thank a sponsor, and we will be right back. For you, the listeners of the Teacher Recharge podcast, Audible is offering a free audiobook download with a free 30-day trial to give you the opportunity to check out their service. Whenever I have a guest on the show, I ask them to recommend a book for you to go and use that trial, use that free book with. Blair, what would be your recommendation?
So, my recommendation, it's a teacher book. It's called Teach Like Your Hair's on Fire by Rafe Esquith. And he's a 5th grade teacher, I believe, in California, and he just writes about how he just teaches, like, his hair is on fire. And I'm not going to tell you the story about it, but just about why you need to put all of your passion into what you do every day. and gives you a lot of great tips, and it's a really, really awesome book. It's my favorite book of all time.
Awesome. Well, if you want to get that book free on Audible or any of the 180,000 other titles they have to choose from for your iPhone, Android, Kindle, or MP3 player, you can just go to audibletrial.com/teacher-recharge. Once again, that is www.audibletrial.com/teacher-recharge for your free audiobook and free 30-day trial. And we are back. We are back with Blair Husted, and it is my favorite time of the entire show. Not the time for me to sing, though. That's not my favorite time. My favorite time is what comes after, but everybody hold your ears real quick because it's story time! Blair, what is your favorite story? It doesn't have to be about tea. It can be about anything. It's just story time, you know? What is it? Here you go. The floor is yours.
So I actually wanted to share a teaching story. That's one of my favorites. That's just like when everybody asks me what's my favorite story about teaching, this is what comes to mind. I worked in a quote-unquote failing school in Alabama my first 2 years teaching. I actually worked with Teach for America. And, you know, the kids were kind of labeled not by teachers, but by the district and the communities that they were failing and they couldn't succeed and they wouldn't be able to defy those odds. And so I started a STEM club at our school, and it was like the first club in 10 years that had been started at our school. And my best friend started another club, a reading club too. And with the STEM club, we actually got the opportunity to take the kids to the Space and Rocket Center in Huntsville, Alabama. And the Space and Rocket Center normally costed like $30 a person to get in for the students, and the students obviously could not afford that at all. And so we had somebody pay for it, and it was amazing. And so during the trip, I had a little boy come up to me, and he just said, "Mrs. Husted, this is better than Christmas morning." And what stuck with me in that moment was just that this little boy was homeless. He lived out of a motel and kind of just lived out of his car sometimes, like whatever they could afford at that time. And also was like super quiet, super reserved, like participated and was a great kid, but like so shy. And I kid you not, I saw this kid like go to another level of excitement, like the most excited kid I've ever seen when we were there, like literally running up and down the hallways of this Space and Rocket Center, like outside, like screaming at the rockets that he was just so happy, like these giant rockets, doing cartwheels down the road. Like I just saw him at another level. And then for him to say it was like better than Christmas morning was just so powerful to me, because people didn't realize like just taking a group of kids somewhere like in their community that they couldn't even access because they just didn't have the money could like change their entire mindset and their entire life. And like our kids were totally capable of succeeding, and they loved this Space and Rocket Center, and I saw them do amazing things in this STEM club that like blew my mind. You know, as a 20-something-year-old person, like they were coming up with better ideas than I could ever come up with. So it was just my favorite story because I was able to make a difference in that kid's life, and like I saw him just change his mindset about education and what it meant to him and the opportunities that could come from just participating in things and putting his best foot forward. And from that day on in STEM Club, I mean, he was gung-ho, every time ready to roll, and just loved every minute of it. And so that's like a huge part of me as a teacher, was just like providing kids with experiences, because not every kid like gets those opportunities. And what's more powerful than like taking a kid somewhere and giving them the vocabulary and the knowledge base about something totally new that they have never seen. And it's crazy to me the amount of times that this happens. Like I also worked in a community in Florida, and the Blue Angels are based out of that community, and in the military. And the kids had never seen the Blue Angels fly, and it was like 20 minutes away from them. And so we took a trip there too, and almost kind of the same thing happened. This girl we were walking in the museum. It was like on the military base, and the museum had a section that said women in aviation. And she looked at me and she goes, "Well, I didn't know that you could be a pilot and be a woman." And so like, just those like little tiny things that can change a child's mindset and their life to just like go for what they're passionate about, because she clearly like loved this experience and she loved the STEM club and wanted to be in engineering, but just didn't know that it was possible for her, almost like this little boy like didn't know what was out there. So just giving them those experiences about what's out there for them and like the world, there's so much to offer them, was my passion in education.
How what grade were you teaching with these different experiences here?
Yes, so in Alabama I actually taught kindergarten. But the STEM club was for grades 3 to 6. So we had like 60 kids in the club from grades 3 to 6. So I think that little boy was in 4th grade at the time. And then in Florida, I taught kindergarten too, but I ran the STEM club for 5th graders. So that girl was in 5th grade.
So just so everyone listening has a reference for that. So 5th grader and a 4th grader, one of them saying that it's better than Christmas morning. That's literally me. Like, that literally translates in the book of Child to, this is the best thing flipping ever. Like, that's what that means, you know?
Right?
Like, to be better than Christmas morning, I mean, come on. Like, that's crazy. And to get someone that excited about an educational opportunity is just, that's amazing. That's what it is. That's what it's for, you know? That's fantastic.
I agree.
That you were able to find funding, that you were able to give them that experience, and sounds like you rocked that as well. That's awesome. No. Like, I love to hear stories like that. So does everybody else.
Yeah, it was awesome. And it took the whole community too, you know, like it wasn't just me, like, I didn't raise the funding, like it was everybody, which is like, just to see like a community come together and give kids one little thing that can change their life. Like, can you imagine if every community just focused on the kids and education, like where we could be after that?
Yeah, exactly. And there's some beauty in that for sure, like just in that story alone, which is an awesome way to start a week. Wouldn't you agree? Anyways, if we're about out of time, actually, if anybody wants to get a hold of you or reach you or find you or follow you, how can they do that?
So on Instagram, my Instagram is, I'm pulling it up. This is so bad. I should know this. I used to have a classroom Instagram called Fearless in 5th. Which was really cool, but I don't use it anymore because I don't teach anymore, but it's still on there if you want to see like any of the things that I've done in my classroom. But my personal Instagram is Blair Marie 91. If you want to get a hold of me or chat teacher things, I can talk your ear off about anything teacher related.
Marie being Marie, yes?
Yes, that's correct.
All right, sweet. Blair and we'll definitely put a link in the description for all that. Okay.
I do have one more thing I can share though.
Yeah,
that would be my like one thing. I was trying to think of like, okay, what defines me as a teacher, which is like, this is going to sound really bad, but like I break the rules. Like, I think that's like the best thing about that you can do in teaching is like breaking the rules. And I actually listened to another podcast that said like, don't break the rules, destroy the rules. But like, instead of focusing on like they're telling you to teach and what, is following all of the guidelines, I would just break the rules. I would go on the roof of my school without asking permission or like play the video in class that, you're supposed to get rights for. But I was like, you know what? It's going to take too long or they're going to deny me and then my kids don't have this experience, or just like not following the exact guidelines, because sometimes teachers know what their kids need and what's going to help them succeed. And so destroy the rules that say like do this and it's going to help your student because it has helped in years past, because like we live in a totally different society than we did in years past. And so, that was just my way of like of living my teaching world. So like breaking the rules and just doing whatever I knew was best for my students and what was going to help them succeed in the long run.
Yes, I love it. That's great. Awesome. Well, if you know someone that would be great for this podcast, or if you yourself would be great for this podcast, go ahead and email me at teacherrechargepodcast@gmail.com. I'd love to hear that. I'd love to hear topics that you want to see covered, or any questions, any comments, anything you want to say to me or to anybody else that has been on the show would be great. I would appreciate it. If you want to actually check out my website, you can follow this podcast there. You can also learn about the love and success approach to leadership, which is what I talk about when I go to schools. If you want to learn more about that, you can go to fredmotivates.com. That'll all be in the description. And until next week, go break the rules. Go break the rules for your students so that it's better than Christmas morning. Hey, thank you so much, Blair, for coming. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Fred, for having me.
We all appreciate it. And happy Monday to everyone, and I guess to you since we're recording on a Monday.
Yes, happy Monday. Thanks for having me. This was awesome.